Hi, so I'm sure most of you have seen these fancy LED filament bulbs. What I didn't realise is that this filament is actually a very flexible material, and I recently found some on AliExpress in long lengths. This is about 110 centimetre long length of this stuff, and it's very flexible. It's like a silicone type feel. Yeah, imagine like really soggy spaghetti. These long lengths run on nominally 24 volts. They need to be current limited. The label on the packet said 400 milliamps maximum. This is running very low. This is only running about sort of 20 milliamps, just to avoid confusing the camera. If I crank it up to the full, this is 300 milliamps, and that's obviously sort of very bright. It gets warm but not hot at that sort of power. Yeah, for like a nighttime wearables type application, yeah, 12 milliamps. It's about 23 volts across it. You still get, yeah, because it's so thin, you get a very nice sort of high contrasty light out of it. Sure, there's all sorts of really fun things you could do with this, because it's just so flexible. I was imagine, for example, milling out a groove into a piece of acrylic or something. You could set that in to make letters and shapes. It's not stretchy particularly, but if you give it a very small amount of tension, it does actually get very straight. There's a very slight difference from one side to the other. It's sort of based on I think it's something like a very thin flex PCB, which has then been encapsulated in the silicone lead phosphor. So for example, if you twist it, you get alternate bright and dark sections. So the 1 metre odd length is roughly 24 volts. It's actually, the way it's structured is each length, about this long, is a bunch of lead dye in parallel, and then there's about 7 of these sections in series. And if you take a close look up, you can just about see this join here where you've got this parallel section that then goes in series with the following section. I think it would be a bit of a fiddle to cut this to shorter length. You know, you'd have to cut it out these cut points, otherwise you'd have different numbers of leads in parallel on each section, but also making the connections that would be, yeah, I'm sure it would be doable, but it would be a bit fiddly. You'd have to scrape the silicone off and actually get down to the metal to get a wire onto it, and that could be a little bit fragile. But if this is the point where you want to break it, you'd maybe sort of chop it here and then strip enough to get some length of this this tracking to get a wire into it, and then maybe silicone or heat shrink over that. The ends are sort of solderable metal tags, and there's a little hole in the positive end. There's a short dark section at each end, but not that much really. They're advertised as about 1 metre. This one's actually 118 centimetres, and they also sell shorter sections, which are normally 3 volts, which are like 1/7 the length of this. It's a little bit tricky to find on AliExpress, but if you search for DC24V lead filament, you'll usually find it. Although the description says sort of soft lead filament, searching for soft brings up all the bulbs and so on. But there's a few listings for this in both warm and cold white colour temperature. But I just thought, yeah, because it's such a nice sort of sharp, very thin light, I'm sure there's all sorts of really fun, interesting things. But just the tech, yeah, this is so flexible. It does seem to be reasonably robust, because obviously the silicone gives sort of quite good protection to it. So they, it probably wouldn't really stand much stretching. But in terms of just handling and sort of playing with, it's actually sort of quite magical stuff. And so I'm sure you could do some really nice sort of wearables and interesting arrangements of lighting with this stuff. It's just rather lovely stuff.